when I think about it, something big and amazing happened in the last 3 years in terms of the explosion in access to affordable mobile broadband. Of course, the telcos have been building the foundations for a long time, but the acceleration in the last 4 years really set the stage for movement, as Gopal said, both in the private infrastructure as well as the public and common services infrastructure like the UPI. And a lot of the conversation still is about the excitement of scaling up still. How do we bring more people online? How do we continue the growth? And yet, very aligned, I think, with what Gopal and Jay were saying, it does feel like there is a moment that we have achieved where that scale is already there, and the big call is for companies like us and companies in this room to really leverage the potential of the foundation, both on the private side and the public or common services infrastructure side that is already there. And I think the last few years have also called out a few learnings. One of which is we can scale up dramatically like no other market in the world. Adding 300, 400 million 4G users in a very short period of time, there's not a whole lot of parallel for it. We have clearly shown that we have the ability to absorb hard tech in a very short period of time. And I think consumers have also shown that they have the ability to evolve behavior very rapidly, setting the stage for disruption in the economic models in a very short period of time. So if I look at the context and look at the foundations that have already been built, for us as a company, when we look at that in Facebook, we continue to be massively excited about it. Not just the scale of it, not just that we are operating in a country that is deeply aspirational, and therefore all the dots connect for us, and the big headline for us is we see ourselves as an ally for India in this transformation. And therefore when we think about where we are putting our focus and energy, it's really on three areas. Number one is around entrepreneurship and commerce. The story that Gopal narrated is the story that we see on our platforms every day. And we believe that we have a enabling, affirmative agenda that helps the small business entrepreneur, the entrepreneur who's starting out for the first time, the 1-person, 2-person, 3-person company, in really leveraging the power of our platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp, essentially leveraging the fact that our family of apps is deeply embedded in the social fabric of our country. And how do we find mechanisms for these entrepreneurs to discover new markets and new customers, whether that's in the same city that they operate in, the same state, or very often where those markets exist outside of India. And we believe that creating that virtuous cycle that gets the economic growth engine going is good for us, is good for our partners, and is good for the country. The second part is, as much as the story of growth has been massively positive and almost no equivalent for it anywhere in the world, I think we need to be conscious that there is a huge gender imbalance in access to the internet. The numbers seem to suggest that it's 30-35% women at the moment. And obviously, the reality is, I think, whether it's Airtel or Vodafone Idea or Reliance, these companies have done a lot of the hard work in investing in building the underlying capacity. But we do see ourselves as an ally for these telcos, and how do we build products that pull in a lot more women onto the internet? And what is the role that we can play in fundamentally breaking the gender imbalance? For example, when we talk to consumers around the country, one of the constraints we see is women have a lot of concerns about safety, around their identity, around data. So a lot of the product work that we do is how do we give the assurance that the environments that we create on the product is safe for women as well? And the third big bucket for us is the agenda of financial inclusion. When you look at the economy as a whole, with all of the work that the government has done, it's pretty clear that we have just scratched the surface of using technology and using the scale of everyone who has come online to get the movement of money going. And we're excited about the opportunity linked to WhatsApp payments, of fundamentally exploding access to financial products that can come with it. So when I look at it, all of our energy is focused on entrepreneurship. How do we do our part to fix the gender imbalance? And how do we bring the power of our platforms to truly enable financial inclusion, all of which can be a massive virtuous cycle for economic growth and social development. And in all of it, I think to what Gopal said, we see ourselves as running not a solo agenda, but working closely with partners, including many on this dais, to really figure out how we can be an ally for India.